We are almost exactly 2 weeks away from the end of our burn season here at Red Poppy Ranch, which means everything we want to get burned before it gets too hot and dangerous has to be burned right now. We are also eagerly anticipating this year's batch of baby deer to show up at the same time.
Let me scratch you. I know, it's okay. It's all right.
We just got home from church and this storm kicked up, and it's supposed to be stormy for a couple of days, I think. And this time of year, we have to be aware that literally anytime these deer can have babies, and this is the kind of weather they like to have babies in. So I think I'm going to throw them a bale of hay and make sure they got plenty of water, all that good stuff, just to make sure they're comfortable. I'll bet money we come out here within the next couple of days in the morning and we find a baby deer. So I'm going to throw some hay up there for them, some bedding, so they have a comfortable place to have the babies, although they like to have them wherever they want to have them. They'll probably go up under the trees in the dirt is where they usually do it. But if all goes well, I shouldn't have to do anything with these baby deer. I shouldn't have to intervene in any way, and oftentimes I just come out here and I find the baby deer. This is only the second time we've gone through the season of the deer having the babies. So they know something's up. Let's get a bale, get it to them before it gets too stormy. There's been multiple babies born in this little shelter overnight. And I actually think that one down there, there's two sisters that are basically, they were twins, and they're both, they both must have gotten bred at about the same time. So there's two I'm watching pretty closely, and hopefully in the next couple of mornings we come out here, find some baby deer. I'm ready to see some baby deer. This is about the time last year that they started showing up. Last year we had 6. I'm hoping we have a bunch more than that this year, but you just never know. Once I get all the burning done up on the hill, a best case scenario would be to have a pen designated just for birthing. Cedar and I have been talking about enclosing that front yard there and separating the bucks and the does, especially while they're birthing. That would be an ideal situation. So. I was flying the drone and I happened to catch the deer playing tag, and the one they're chasing is just about to give birth to at least twins, so she's still able to move pretty good. But this is the spot where I put down a bunch of bluegrass scraps last year, and I put up a temporary fence to keep the deer off of it, and you can see what the deer have done to that fence. But they sure like that grass. But they're gonna love it once they get up on the hill in their new pen. So this big Doug fir right here next to the excavator represents the top corner of what will be the new deer pen. And this first section of trail was a section that we had a hard time with if it got wet or snow on it. And so before I put the new deer fencing up, I had the thought that I would try and straighten this trail out just a little bit and possibly add an acre or two to the deer pen before I put the fencing up. A few months back, Reed and I went up to the cabin and stayed the night in the middle of a snowstorm, and we had to leave the four-wheeler behind right here because it was just too steep. I'm going to fly the drone at the end of the video and show you the difference that the new trail is going to make, but ultimately what this does is it puts the steepest part of the trail down closest to the landing. And that means that I'll be able to use the landing to get a little bit of momentum to get up the first part of that trail. But the goal with the new trail is to try and spread the steepness out all the way down the trail. Everything goes better downhill, it would seem. What I've found that as I cut the trees down and as I have to pull the stumps out of the ground, that if I can throw them to the low side and let gravity do the job of pulling them down the hill a little bit, that seems to collectively put everything in the same place and make it easier for me to move it around and put it into piles to burn. As soon as I'm finished cutting in the new trail, I can switch buckets from my standard 20-inch Bobcat bucket to the Rhinox rake riddle bucket, which is much better at cleaning up the brush. But I've got to think I've lost close to a dozen of the teeth off this bucket cutting in this mountainside trail. I'm going to go back over this a few times, widen it out, straighten it out, compact it, all that fun stuff. But this is the new trail that will probably add close to an acre, maybe even a little bit more to the deer pen. The old trail had a major curve in it, and every time I flew my drone over it and I looked at it, I could see that this last 100 yards, we struggled getting up all winter long, and even if it rains bad, it's hard to get up. And so I could see with my drone that if I straightened out the point from the landing down there to this point up here, I was going to add probably close to an acre to the deer pen, but I would also have a straight shot. So the fence on the deer pen will be precision straight, which is what I want. The new trail should be the same consistency as far as how steep it is all the way down, instead of having a progressive like the old trail. So it was kind of a last minute idea, but we've invested so much up to this point that I want to make sure we do this right. And not only do I want the fence line to be really straight, but I also want to fix this trail one last time so it's even easier to get up. That's what it's going to come down to. So tomorrow I'm going to get out here and finish cutting this trail in I'm going to go over this multiple times and compact it, and then we got to start the process of burning. I'm getting down to where I've got less than 3 weeks now to get all this cleaned up before I can't burn until October. So. Watch closely here, and I'm going to try and show you the difference between the old trail and where the new trail is going to go. But as we go over the top of the house here, you can see the front of the new deer pin fence line that I put in last year with the help of the family. And now you can see here where the old trail starts and gets real steep, and where I've started the new trail. I'm trying to get the trail totally finished today so I can see how much wood I have piled up. It's supposed to be 82 tomorrow, and that's a little bit warmer than I like for burning big brush piles, and I'm gonna have a gigantic brush pile right here. So I'm hoping I can get the trail cut in and finished by the end of the day, and then I can decide how big this brush pile is and if I need to wait for a cool morning to get it lit. So here we go. Well, as I was cutting in the new portion of this trail, I could see a very large cedar tree and a very large maple tree right next to each other. So I put a little bit of an elbow in the trail to avoid having to hurt those two trees. If it isn't obvious, this is a prime example of why the excavator is so important to use on a job like this, because any other piece of equipment would struggle, where the excavator can go essentially anywhere it needs to. As I'm cutting the new trail in, I have to make sure that I'm lined up with the landing down at the bottom, because if I come in at the wrong angle, it may be more steep than the original trail would have been. Nothing better than finding Callie and Reed out here in the front yard under the cedar tree when I'm flying my drone. This is the barbed wire fence that separates the new trail from the landing, so I'm just about down to where I need to be. The camera never does justice as far as showing how steep the side of the mountain actually is, but at this point, using the excavator, the new trail is now wide enough that I could literally drive my pickup truck up it if I need to. You can see how many of these trees are already leaning over, and those trees that are all leaning will eventually die because they just fall over. And they might live 40 or 50 years, but eventually they just kind of fall over. But there's also something going on with other trees. I don't know if it's some sort of a fungus or something, but little groves of the maple trees that we have will just die off like this. So I'm hoping that by cleaning up some of the dead and dying trees that are in here, that's going to rejuvenate everybody and hopefully get rid of the reason why some of these trees are dying. So now, again, the one thing that I'm trying to do different than anybody else that I'm aware of around here is I'm trying to keep some of the maple trees. Everywhere else I know that people have thinned this kind of property, they've gotten rid of all of the maple trees. So cutting in this new trail, I really haven't had to remove too many big trees. Most of the trees are between probably 3 and 6 inches. The new trail is just about cut into the old landing, and this new trail will be wide enough, like I said, that I could drive a truck up it if I wanted to. Now, I found dozens and dozens of rocks that I would love to use in a retaining wall if I can find a safe way to get them back down to the house where they can be used. I think this is the last week of semi-cool weather that we're going to get before it just gets up in the 90s and it doesn't turn back. We have a couple of days of storms coming in. I'm still watching the deer pretty close right now because I think any time now we could have some babies start showing up. But we're about 2 days away from like a storm that's going to knock the whole neighborhood down to about 40 degrees, which is kind of crazy in the month of May. But that would be a perfect time to have fires burning. This next burn pile that I'm going to put together will be by far the biggest pile of brush I've ever burned, which means there's going to be ridiculous amounts of heat coming off that brush, and I need to make sure I time this accordingly so it doesn't get out of control on me. But this entire week, this is going to be my focus because I'm running out of time. I have 2 weeks left before I can't burn till October. So I got to get this brush pile piled up. I'm going to take a whole bunch of dead trees from when I originally cut the trail in 2 years ago and kind of put them underneath everything, hopefully using that as the kindling to get the fire going. And then because everything's wet, I just have to keep on top of it, keep piling it up together, but it shouldn't get out of control and it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. So here we go. I still have quite a few trees that are going to have to be moved as I cut the new trail in, even though we're only about 50 feet away from the landing. I can't have any trees that could potentially fall over and damage the deer fence. That particular tree right there was typically a tree that I wouldn't mess with, but because the upper portion of the tree had some problems, it had to come out of the ground. But anything bigger than about 6 inches, and I try to leave them if I can help it, but every time I cut a few of these trees out and the sunlight hits the ground, I know that the new grasses are going to grow. The new Mountainside trail is much better than the old one. I just need to make sure that right here at the landing everything comes together so all the effort was worthwhile. We wanted to say thank you for stopping by and checking on us here at Red Poppy Ranch and seeing what we're up to. On our upcoming video, you're going to get to see the conclusion of the stone wall cleaning for the wood shop, as well as hopefully the conclusion of this landing right here. And if everything else goes to plan, we should have some new baby fallow deer running around here, making us all smile. Thank you again for stopping by and checking on us, and we will see you soon.